and the first verse. And when that happens, God's decree will be plain as the sun at high noon. I'll be the God of every man, woman, and child in Israel, and they shall be my very own people. This is the way God put it. They found grace out in the desert, and these people who survived the killing, Israel out looking for a place to rest, met God out looking for them. God told them, I've never quit loving you, never will. Expect love, love, and more love. And so now I'll start over with you and build you up again, dear Virgin Israel. You resume your singing, grabbing tambourines and joining the dance. You'll go back to your old work of planting vineyards on the Samaritan hillsides and sit back and enjoy the fruit. Oh, how you'll enjoy these harvests. The time's coming when watchmen will call out from the hilltops of Ephraim, or these airplanes are loud, on your feet, let's go to Zion, go to meet our God. Oh, yes, God says so. Shout for joy at the top of your lungs for Jacob. Announce the good news to the number one nation. Raise cheers, sing praises, say God has saved his people, save the core of Israel. Watch out what comes next. I'll bring my people back from the north country and gather them up from the ends of the earth. Gather those who've gone blind and those who are lame and limping. Gather pregnant women, even the mothers whose birth pangs have started. Bring them all back, a huge crowd. Watch them come. They'll come weeping for joy as I take their hands and lead them to fresh flowing brooks. Lead them along smooth, uncluttered paths. Yes, it's because I'm Israel's father and Ephraim's my firstborn son. Hear this, nations. God's message, broadcast this all over the world. Tell them the one who scattered Israel will gather them together again. From now on, he'll keep a careful eye on them like a shepherd with his flock. I, God, will pay off a stiff ransom for Jacob. I'll free him from the grip of the Babylonian bully. The people will climb up Zion's slope, shouting with joy, their faces beaming because of God's bounty. Grain and wine and oil, flocks of sheep, herds of cattle, their lives will be like a well-watered garden, never again left to dry up. Young women will dance and be happy. Young men and old men will join in. I'll convert their weeping into laughter, lavishing comfort, invading their grief with joy. I'll make sure that their priests get 3 square meals a day and that my people have more than enough. God's decree. Again, God's message. Listen to this. Laments coming out of Ramah, wild and bitter weeping. It's Rachel weeping for her children. Rachel refusing all solace. Her children are gone, long gone into exile. But God says, stop your incessant weeping. Hold back your tears. Collect wages from your grief work, God's decree. They'll be coming back home. There's hope for your children, God's decree. I've heard the contrition of Ephraim. Yes, I've heard it clearly, saying, you trained me well. You broke me a wild yearling horse to the saddle. Now put me trained and obedient to you. You are my God. After those years of running loose, I repented. After you trained me to obedience, I was ashamed of my past, my wild, unruly past. Humiliated, I beat on my chest. Will I ever live this down? O Ephraim is my dear son, my child in whom I take pleasure. Every time I mention his name, my heart bursts with longing for him. Everything in me cries out for him. Softly and tenderly, I wait for him, God's decree. Set up signposts to mark your trip home. Get a good map, study the road conditions. The road out is the road back. Come back, dear Virgin Israel. Come back to your hometowns. How long will you flit here? How long will you flit here and there indecisive? Interesting word. Never heard it. How long before you make up your fickle mind? God will create a new thing in this land. A transformed woman will embrace the transforming God. A message from Israel's God of the angel armies. When I've turned everything around and brought my people back, the old expressions will be heard on the streets. God bless you, O true home, O holy mountain. All Judah's people, whether in town or country, will get along just fine with each other. I'll refresh tired bodies. I'll restore tired souls. Just then I woke up and looked around. What a pleasant and satisfying sleep. Be ready. The time's coming, God's decree, when I'll plant people and animals in Israel and Judah, just as a farmer plants seed. And in the same way that earlier I relentlessly pulled and tore down, took apart and demolished, so now I'm sticking with them as they start over, building and planting. When that time comes, you won't hear the old proverb anymore. Parents ate the green apples, their children got the stomach ache. No, each person will pay for his own sin, yet you eat green apples. You're the one who gets sick. That's right. The time is coming when I'll make a brand new covenant with Israel and Judah. It won't be a repeat of the covenant I made with their ancestors when I took their hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt. They broke that covenant, even though I did my part as their master, God's decree. This is the brand new covenant that I will make with Israel when the time comes. I will put my law within them. Boy, this is a long chapter. And write it on their hearts and be their God. And they will be my people. And they will no longer go around setting up schools to teach each other about God. They'll know me firsthand, the dull and the bright, the smart and the slow. I'll wipe the slate clean for each of them. I'll forget they ever sinned, God's decree. If this ordered cosmos ever fell to pieces. God's message from the God who lights up the day with sun and brightens the night with moon and stars, who whips the ocean into a billowy froth, whose name is God of the angels' armies. If this ordered cosmos ever fell to pieces, fell into chaos before me, God's decree, then and only then might Israel fall apart and disappear as a nation before me. God's message: if the skies could be measured with a yardstick and the earth explored to its core, then and only then would I turn my back on Israel, disgusted with all they've done. God's decree. The time is coming, is God's decree, when God's city will be rebuilt all the way from the citadel of Hanamel to the corner gate. The master plan will extend west to the Gareb Hill and then around to Goab, the whole valley to the south where incinerated corpses are dumped, a death valley if there ever was one, and all the terraced fields out of the brook of Kidron on the east as far north as the horse gate will be consecrated to me as a holy place. This city will never again be torn down or destroyed. Now, Jeremiah, you know that chapter was very long. Jeremiah 32, killing and disease are on our doorstep. The message Jeremiah received from God in the 10th year of Zedekiah, king of Judah, was the 18th year of Nebuchadnezzar. At that time, the army of the king of Babylon was holding Jerusalem under siege. Jeremiah was shut up in jail in the royal palace. Zedekiah, king of Judah, had locked him up and complaining, "How dare you preach, saying, God says, I'm warning you, I will hand this city over to the king of Babylon and he'll take it over. Zedekiah, king of Judah, will be handed over to the Chaldeans right along with the city. He'll be handed over to the king of Babylon and forced to face the music. He'll be hauled off to Babylon, where he'll stay until I deal with him. God's decree. Fighting against the Babylonians all you want. It won't get you anywhere." Jeremiah said, God's message came to me like this: prepare yourself, Hanamel. Your uncle Shallum's son is on his way to see you. He's going to say, buy my field in Anathoth. You have the legal right to buy it. And sure enough, just as God had said, my cousin Hanamel came to me while I was in jail and said, buy my field in Anathoth in the territory of Benjamin, for you have the legal right to keep it in the family. Buy it, take it over. That I did. I knew it was God's message. So I bought the field at Anathoth for my cousin Hanamel. I paid him 17 silver shekels. I followed all the proper procedures. In the presence of witnesses, I wrote out the bill of sale, sealed it, and weighed out the money on the scales. Then I took the deed of purchase, the sealed copy that contained the contract and its conditions, and also the open copy, and gave them to Baruch, son of Neriah, the son of Meshai. All this took place in the presence of my cousin Hanamel and the witnesses who had signed the deed, as the Jews who were at jail that day looked on. Then in front of all of them, I told Baruch, these are the orders from God of the angel armies, the God of Israel. Take these documents, both the sealed and open deeds, and put them for safekeeping in a pottery jar. For God of the angel armies, the God of Israel, says life is going to return to normal. Homes and fields and vineyards are again going to be brought to this country. And then handed over the legal documents to Baruch, son of Neriah, I prayed to God, dear God, my master, you created earth and sky by your great power, by merely stretching out your arm. There's nothing you can't do. You're loyal in your steadfast love to thousands upon thousands, but you also make children live with the fallout from their parents' sins. Great and powerful God, named God of the angel armies, determined in purpose and relentless in following through. You see everything men and women do and respond appropriately to the way they live, to the things they do. You perform signs and wonders in the country of Egypt and continue to do so right into the present, right here in Israel and everywhere else too. You made a reputation for yourself that doesn't diminish. You brought your people Israel out of Egypt with signs and wonders, a powerful deliverance by merely stretching out your arm. You gave them this land and solemnly promised to their ancestors a bountiful and fertile land. But when they entered the land and took it over, they didn't listen to you. They didn't do what you commanded. They wouldn't listen to a thing you told them. And so you brought this disaster on them. Oh, look at the siege ramps already set in place to take the city. Killing and starvation and disease are on the doorstep. The Babylonians are attacking. The word you spoke is coming to pass. It's daily news. And yet you, God, the master, even though it is certain that the city will be turned over to the Babylonians also told me, buy the field, pay for it in cash, and make sure there are witnesses. Babylonians, Lord have mercy. Sounds like a demon. Then God's message came again to Jeremiah. Stay alert. I'm God, the God of everything living. Is there anything I can't do? So listen to God's message. No doubt about it. I'm handing this city over to the Babylonians, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon. He'll take it. The attacking Chaldeans will break through and burn the city down. All those houses whose roofs were used as altars for offerings to Baal and the worship, who knows how many other gods provoked me. It isn't as if it were the first time they had provoked me. The people of Israel and Judah have been doing this for a long time, doing what I hate, making me angry by the way they live, God's decree. This city has made me angry from the day they built it, and now I've had my fill. I'm destroying it. I can't stand to look any longer at the wicked of the lives of the people of Israel and Judah, deliberately making me angry. The whole lot of them, kings and leaders and priests and preachers in the country and in the city. They've turned their backs on me. They won't even look me in the face, even though I took great pains to teach them how to live. They refuse to listen, refuse to be taught. Why they even set up obscene God and goddess statues in the temple built in my honor, an outrageous desecration. And then they went out and built shrines to the god Baal in the valley of Hinnom, where they burned their children and sacrificed to the god Molech. I can hardly conceive of such evil, turning the whole country into one huge act of sin. But there's also this message from me, the God of Israel, to the city which you have said, in killing and starvation and disease, this city will be delivered up to the king of Babylon. Watch for this. I will collect them from all the countries to which I have driven them in my anger and rage and indignation. Yes, I'll bring them all back to this place and let them live here in peace. They will be my people. I will be their God. I'll make them of one mind and heart, always honor me, so that they can live good and whole lives, they and their children after them. What's more, I'll make a covenant with them that will last forever, a covenant to stick with them no matter what, and work for their good. I'll fill their hearts with a deep respect for me, so that they'll not even think of turning away from me. Oh, how I rejoice in them. Oh, how I delight in doing good things for them, heart and soul. I'll plant them in this country and keep them there. Yes, this is God's message. I will certainly bring this huge catastrophe on this people, but I will also usher in a wonderful life of prosperity. I promise. Fields are going to be bought here again. Yes, in this very country that you assume is going to end up desolate, gone to the dogs, unlivable, wrecked by the Babylonians. Yes, people will buy farms again and legally with deeds of purchase, sealed documents, proper witnesses, and right here in the territory of Benjamin, in the area around Jerusalem, around the villages of Judah in the hill country, the Shephelah and the Negev, I will restore everything that was lost. God's decree. Jeremiah 33, things you could never figure out on your own. While Jeremiah was still locked up in jail, a second message from God was given to him. You still in jail, Jeremiah? This is God's message. The God who made earth, made it livable and lasting, known everywhere as God. Call to me and I will answer you. I will tell you marvelous and wonderful things that you can never figure out on your own. This is what God, the God of Israel, has to say about what's going on in this city, about the homes of both the people and kings that have been demolished, about all the ravages of war and the killing by the Chaldeans, about the streets littered with dead bodies and those killed because of my raging anger, about all that's happened because of the evil actions in this city. I've turned my stomach in disgust. But now take another look. I'm going to give this city a thorough renovation, working a true healing inside and out. I'm going to show them life, whole life, brimming with blessings. I'll restore everything that was lost to Judah and Jerusalem. I'll build everything back as good as new. I'll scrub them clean from the dirt that they've done against me. I'll forgive everything they've done wrong, forgive all their rebellions. And Jerusalem will be a center of joy and praise for all the countries on earth. They'll get reports on all the good I'm doing for her. They'll be in all the blessings I'm pouring on her. Yes, God's message. You're going to look at this place, these empty and desolate towns of Judah and streets of Jerusalem, say a wasteland, unlivable. Not even a dog could live there. But the time is coming when you're going to hear laughter and celebration, marriage festivities, people exclaiming, thank God of the angel armies. He is good. His love never quits. As they bring thank offerings into God's temple, I'll restore everything that was lost in this land. I'll make everything as good as new. I, God, say so. God of the angel armies. Why does it keep being called God of the angel armies? Says this coming desolation, unfit even for a stray dog, is once again going to become a pasture for shepherds who care for their flocks. You'll see flocks everywhere in the mountains around the towns of the Shephelah and Negev, all the country of Benjamin around Jerusalem, and the towns of Judah, flocks under the care of shepherds who keep track of each sheep. God says so. A fresh and true shoot from David tree. Watch for this. The time is coming, God's decree, when I will keep the promise I made to the families of Israel and Judah. When that time comes, I'll make a fresh and true shoot sprout from the David tree. He will run this country honestly and fairly. He will set things right. Then when Judah will be secure and Jerusalem will live in safety, that's when they'll be secure and live in safety. The motto for the city will be, God has set things right for us. God has made it clear that there will always be a descendant of David ruling the people of Israel, and that there will always be Levitical priests on hand to offer burnt offerings, present grain offerings, and carry on the sacrificial worship in my honor. God's message to Jeremiah. God says, if my covenant with day and my covenant with night ever fall apart, so that the day became night, became haphazard, and you never knew what was coming and when, then and only then would my covenant with my servant David fall apart, and his descendants no longer rule. The same goes for the Levitical priests who serve me, just as you can't number the stars in the sky, nor measure the sand on the seashore, neither will you be able to account for the descendants of David, my servant, and the Levites who serve me. God's message to Jeremiah. Have you heard the saying that's making the rounds? The two families God chose, Israel and Judah, he disowned. And have you noticed that my people are treated with contempt, with rumors afoot that there's nothing to them anymore? Well, Jeremiah, isn't that what you've been saying the last 40 years? Well, here's God's response. And my covenant with day and night wasn't in working order if sky and earth weren't functioning the way I set them going. But then and only then you may think I had disowned the descendants of Jacob and of my servant David, and that I wouldn't set up any of David's descendants over the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But as it is, I will give them back everything they've lost. The last word is, I will have mercy on them. Now, Jeremiah, that's totally different from the message you've been sharing these last chapters. Okay, this is the word of